All right, welcome to the monthly movie dispatch, the movie review show from friends you can trust. Every week, we broadcast a review of a new film, talk about some film news, and recommend what to watch. We've been talking, critiquing, and gushing over movies since we were in high school, and we aim to bring you honest conversation on relevant cinema. I am your host, Brandon, and I have here with me Derek.
Yo,
How's
how's
it
it
going,
going?
Derek?
Good. Just
Yeah, it's going
sitting
good.
in this freaking heat over here on the West Coast.
Heat wave, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to talk to you about the new recent Pixar film that was released on Disney Plus called Luca. But we'll get to that in just a second. And as always, when we talk about these like prolific studios that typically release good films, it's cool to kind of like recap why we pay attention to Pixar.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're the like Disney that we grew up with, like kind of our generation. I
Mm-hmm.
remember seeing Toy Story in theaters when I was a little kid. It's one of the very first theater memories I have.
Right.
Um, and the studio hasn't like let us down since. There's been a few movies here and there, but I've been like looking over recent Pixar and what it's meant because I mean, I don't know about you, but like I really liked Luca as well. Spoiler
Yeah.
alert. I really enjoyed the hell out of that film. And looking back, what they've given us since like maybe the last like six movies, they're on a roll again. I
Yeah.
think we had some like early like teens, 20 teens, like Pixar that people were a little scared of, a lot of sequels. Brave was kind of less than a lot of Cars,
Yeah.
Monsters University, Good Dinosaur. It was like Finding Dory too, like which was I didn't hate, but
Yeah.
I was worried about Pixar for a bit. And to me, getting even a film like Luca right has made them like in my head really solidified them like they've come a long way.
Yeah.
Um yeah. I mean they got Soul, Luca, Toy Story 4, Incredibles 2, Coco, like Inside Out. These are just like the spree they've been on over the last 5 years. That's just always been really impressive.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, and they keep like they got this I mean other studios are doing it too, but I just notice it more often with them. Is like not only are they producing at like a high quality without like they're giving us less stinkers nowadays. Also, I can just
Hmm.
see their like visual quality of like their animation and stuff is still just like peaking too. It's still going up. Like every time
They
one of their movies come out, I'm always just like, God damn, they're still getting better. Holy crap.
they try so hard. And looking over the list of Pixar films, I remember someone told me they even announced this that they're like done with sequels for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But now we've had three Pixar films that have not been a sequel in
Yeah.
a row,
Yeah.
which is kind of weird to say. Like that shouldn't be a record for anybody. But
Right. But it
in our
is.
culture of sequels, they now did Onward, Soul, and Luca, three original
That's
IPs,
true.
all given to us these last few years.
And it is a Disney company, so like sequels is kind of what they do. So it is
Hmm.
cool to, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it is kind of notable that they're making an effort to stray away from that. And
Yeah,
Pixar's always
not
kind
just
of,
like churn these out.
yeah, and they've always been kind of known to dig a little deeper than the regular Disney movies or the Marvel movies and actually have something kind of personal to tell. And yeah, so it's just always because of that, it always becomes like an event. Like a lot of Pixar movies kind of transcend what a lot of kind of the run of the mill animation movies, like your Despicable Me or
Hmm.
something like that. While they might be good movies, they don't really like have a lot to say usually. But
And even like even an average Pixar film like Onward, someone would say is still like top tier any other
yeah,
kids animated film we get.
yeah,
So yeah, it's always a pleasure to look out for them and to anticipate their films because you know it's going to be worthwhile experience.
mm-hmm.
Um, and Luca was a weird one for me. It kind of snuck up on me. Um, like I heard a little bit about it. I saw a trailer, but because like it's being released just now coming out of quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have like a lot of hype going into it, and they also didn't put it out in cinemas at all.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can go see this movie other than at your home, right?
As far as I know, I mean, that, I was kind of thinking about that. And part of me says that unless the Academy has like changed their like how they function because of COVID and stuff, I don't know.
Right.
But part of me assumes that they, they at least met
It's
the
somewhere in
guidelines.
LA.
Yeah, to just because I don't think they have any other animated movies coming out this year, and I'm sure they want it in there.
Hmm.
So um,
Yeah, so a little like under the radar for me, and I didn't know what to expect. And yeah, just watch this on Disney Plus, and I guess we can get into the review on that.
yeah, let's just move right in.
I really enjoyed Luca, like a lot.
Yeah.
And it was a weird journey for me because I don't necessarily know if it started out in the best place. I
Hmm.
was a little shaky. There was a lot of like, I've seen this, I know where this is going.
Hmm.
There's so much familiar territory to me. Like, they're doing the thing Pixar always gets made fun of doing, which is just humanizing some like inanimate object or
Right.
some like fake thing and, giving it eyes and a mouth and a voice, and all of a sudden it's a character.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, they do the fish out of water story literally in
Literally.
this
Yeah.
movie, which is like someone, I don't know what's happening, and I've never experienced this before, and they're just learning about the world around them.
Hmm.
Um, Mixed with, I don't know, the Little Mermaid, which is just like obvious, some similarities here.
Yeah.
And when it started, I wasn't necessarily that into it. For maybe like a good 15 minutes, I was like, this could be a good dinosaur.
Right.
And it really turned. And I think it's when the like girl friend comes into the film, like a
Hmm.
half hour in, 25 minutes in,
Yeah.
and you learn about the bike race and all that. And
Yeah.
immediately everything started clicking for me.
Hmm.
And I started getting into the relationships, the friendships, the arguments, the beautiful scenery, and like the actual animation of the Italian like world.
Hmm.
And I also started getting into like the little cute moments. Like this is a much smaller like restrained Pixar movie, and
Like
it
live action,
definitely,
this would be a really low budget movie. It's like one
yeah.
location. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and not a lot to animate because they only
Hmm.
had to do that like courtyard and little village once. And
Yeah.
um I yeah, and you kind of have to appreciate the smaller moments of this like, little bike race that they're preparing for. And what that's, they're all the little like goofs and gags that come out of that. I don't know, it is much smaller and more charming, and it all really worked for me in the end.
Yeah. I
How about
think
you?
I think like to that point, like it kind of being smaller and like relying on those like small little quirks and stuff that you're kind of talking about reminds me more of like a children's movie that we would have seen like in the 90s that we grew up on and stuff like
Right.
it 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 might have a little bit to say, but it cares more about like just telling the story of these kids and like being cute and like having fun in their world and like
Hmm.
um it's less about like Soul is like super existential and like not really targeted towards children that much.
The
um
Incredibles, the like world is ending.
yeah, and
Yeah.
they they're and even like I mean, I guess now that I think about Pixar's like on this existential kind of streaks. Toy Story 4 is really like out there too. Like this one just
Hmm.
kind of gets back to the roots, and it's like here's just like a charming children's animated tale about these kids in Italy.
Hmm.
And it's yeah, it's like surprisingly just refreshing once you realize that's what's happening, and it's like, oh, it's really just about this bike race, really that's what
Yeah.
they're going to focus on. And
And I'm like, this is the villain?
yeah.
Oh yeah, this is totally fine that this is the villain. It's just
Right.
some like douchebag who has almost no power.
Yeah.
It's not like he's gonna blow up the entire like Italian Riviera
All right.
if he doesn't get his way. It's just like kind of a little like kid, another kid with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're saying, it's definitely like like more of just like an 80s kids movie or like something that we would 90s kids movie that we'd see a while ago. It
Yeah.
doesn't deal with these like massive explosions and huge plot points of like aliens coming onto the planet or something.
Yeah. It still works in that kind of storyline, or it works in like a over the top kind of setting. It's like these sea monsters come out of the water, and when they come out of the water, they turn into humans. But yeah, I don't. I really like the movie. Also,
Mhm.
I thought, like you said, I like probably, yeah, about 20 minutes to a half hour in is when I really started just getting into it. It feels more like I want to compare it to like Stranger Things, just in a way that like it's really about like these. It's like about children like hanging out and like having fun together, and
Mhm.
that just clicked so well. Like that's kind of, it was a fad at one point, like telling that kind of story, and sometimes it just doesn't work. But with this movie, it really did really worked for me.
Mhm.
The animation I loved it. For me, it feels like another step up for Pixar, even though it's not going for like Soul, like the cityscapes and stuff were like realistic. Like it was really crazy how detailed.
Another step up from Soul,
Well, so for me, I think so.
some
In
parts.
because it shows that they're willing to take a step away from that realist, like pushing the limits of
Okay.
animation, and instead being like, let's develop a whole new. It has its own aesthetic, its own style,
Hmm.
but we're gonna like knock that style out of the park in ways that nobody else can do but us.
It gets photo real in parts, but I get what you're saying. It's
Yeah,
not a photoreal copy of like the Cinque Terre in Italy.
yeah,
It's like it has a slightly different style, and I guess even it like it is supposed to be just Italy, but I don't know. For some reason, like the New York style of Inside Out seemed more grounded because he's going to like jazz clubs and stuff than this kind of like
Soul.
sea monster fantasy
Yeah.
and soul and stuff. Uh, but yeah, there is like an off style to it. Things are a little more bubbly,
Mm.
rounded. I don't know. It's hard to put your finger on it. But there was a couple moments that were just like jaw dropping. Specifically, I remember when the like they're coming out of the water
Mm-hmm.
uh in the cove, and one of it's like during sunset and everything is like orange and the colors are like popping off the screen,
Yeah.
and just the way the water looked was so clean and crisp.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty mind blowing.
Yeah.
um it took me maybe like a bit to get used to the character models of the actual sea creatures.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know if it's like, I mean, you could do anything with that. I
Yeah.
don't know if like those chunky bodies, it's like again, it's hard to describe what they were, but it's completely their own creation. They can make them look however they wanted to. I don't know if it necessarily was the best. I liked the human looks. The sea creatures were a little bit funky. I don't know
Yeah.
if they ever landed for me.
I kind of felt
Um,
like they were going for like, they wanted it to look like a cartoon that you'd see on like Saturday morning. Is what it kind of felt like to me. Like they weren't going for anything else, but every cartoon you see, they all have their own art style, and I felt like
mhm,
this movie kind of took that and was like, this is our style. And then it looked like they tried to do like the human to sea monster, just like straight translation, just like change the color
mhm.
of the skin, add some gills and stuff like that. And so I think that's probably why it kind of got into this weird like, I mean, I thought it was fine. It wasn't like distracting or
Yeah,
anything,
it
but
was
I
fine.
kind of know
It
what
was
you
fine.
mean. It wasn't like they
At
didn't.
the start, when I thought that's all we were going to see, because I really didn't remember trailers for this movie, and
Yeah.
for all I remembered, it was going to be mostly underwater with a bunch of characters underwater. And I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I necessarily want to be here for an hour and a half, but
Right.
it
Yeah.
didn't last very long,
Yeah.
and it's a minor nitpick.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I guess a lot of the stuff I want to talk about in this movie involve spoilery stuff. I don't know about
Hmm.
you. Do you have stuff you want to talk about that aren't quite spoilery, or?
But I'm down to moving on to spoilers sooner than later.
Okay.
Go see this film. It sounds like we both really liked it. I mean, do you
Yeah.
have any nits to even pick
Um.
throughout that aren't
No.
spoilers? But
Yeah. Like my nits are. Yeah. My nits that need picking do involve spoilers. So that's why I'm kind
okay,
of like. Yeah. I'd rather
all
move in
right.
when you're ready. So.
Let's move on to spoilers. Go see this movie, and if you have, then stick with us for a bit longer.
Yeah.
All right, Derek,
Um.
kick us off.
Yeah. So I really liked. Like you said, like the movie kind of picked up for me after like a half hour, but it was really towards the end. I felt like it was like sailing so hard in the right direction, and I was like really on board with all the beats they
Yes.
were hitting.
Yeah,
And
it wasn't like it reached this point of like everything made sense and was good. It
yeah,
like just kept going,
yeah,
like up, and like by the time the race was happening, the climax and the
yeah,
rain, and then even after that, him saying goodbye and making the decisions and like them
yeah,
accepting townspeople, I was like, I just wanted to follow him to school.
yeah. I know.
And the music was like swelling as he was going under the tunnel. Yeah, like I don't know, it just kept like getting better and better as a film
Yeah.
up until the last moment.
Well, and there's like, so I guess starting at the, it's not even a reveal because we know. There's a point, not all the characters understand what's happening in the world. I guess we didn't go over the plot really of the movie, but the
Yeah, people
the
can watch the trailer.
yeah, it's a very generic, yeah, the fish out of water thing. It's pretty standard, but there's a point. Oh, so the girl, this like the third character in the group doesn't know that these people are sea monsters, and there's a point when the tension is kind of hitting between the two main characters quite a bit. And the tension's building and
Yes.
building, and then finally one of them just like is kind of like fuck it, like I'm gonna come out and like show, and they kind of they
So good.
it's so good because they do like this perspective thing where it's like it's not like first person perspective, but the whole mood of what we see on screen kind of turns into her perspective of what's happening. Like he steps in the water and he starts turning into like the sea monster, and like it has the sun setting in the background. He gets
Hmm.
like cast in shadow, and like from her perspective it's this horrifying thing of this monster
Hmm.
transforming in front of her. We've seen it like
The
a
people in the background are gasping. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it gets
Well,
really
even
dark.
before that, because at this point it's just the three of them on the beach. And this was like the first time in a long time of watching a like animated children's movie that I've actually been like kind of shocked, like I gasped, which
Hmm.
was when the his friend, the main character Luca, is like sea monster. He like throws him under the bus, and I was like, "Oh my god, Luca, are you kidding me?" And like at that
I'm
point,
so right along with you on this.
yeah,
Everything you're saying is exactly how I felt too. Yeah.
yeah, and I was so like, that's when I was really like, I was like, God, I'm so glad like they're willing to like do that with their characters, because I feel like that's a complicated thing for kids to like. That's a thing that kids do, but it's not a thing that they show in movies. I feel like that
Hmm.
often kids like totally betraying their friends to preserve like another friendship or a different goal or something like that. And it's just such a cool beat, and how they did it was just so good. And
I think one thing that worked for me in that, or why it worked, because in my head, it's a predictable movie, but in
yeah,
my head, I was like, I got the scene thought out. Like his friend is going to shove him in the water and reveal him to the
oh
girl.
yeah,
Like obviously they're standing by the water. Someone was going to go in and be revealed. And I
mm-hmm.
thought his friend was going to like push his feet in the water or something.
Yeah,
And then when he goes in the water himself, I was like, that's interesting. It doesn't feel as dramatic,
right,
like of a plot point.
yeah,
And then when the main character goes sea monster, I was like, oh my God, that's the like twist.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
that our main character now is the asshole, or
yeah,
is like they're both assholes, but he's out trumping his friend of being the asshole of
yeah,
throwing him under the bus, almost getting him killed.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Like he
and
knew
so it
the
just like escalated so quickly of like things I wasn't expecting.
yeah. and then it kind of goes through like the dark times of the movie, you know, from that point on.
And
But
I liked that drama too. Like it all worked really well for me. Like it's so relatable.
yeah,
Um, like your friend your friend has a friend, and then they start clicking better than you, and then for the moment you're just kind of on the outside of the conversations, and you're like trying to get in but you can't.
yeah.
And
It's
it's
kind
just
of
like
like Toy Story. Like the first Toy Story kind of follows that beat with Buzz and Andy becoming the main toy friendship,
mhm.
you know, and Woody on the outside.
Yeah. And like you just got to give them space, but like these kids are just trying to like exploring that concept. And the drama really worked. It was
Yeah.
like so human and such a common thing, but I didn't it's not like necessarily explored that much.
Mm-hmm.
So I really liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was like a big highlight in the movie for me.
Hmm.
After that, we go. Uh, you know, the race happens and stuff.
The
Um,
race. Let's pause on like the that climax of the race when it gets to like the rain coming on the
yes.
top of the hill,
Yeah.
um, and his friend coming with the umbrella. Like it that part like it made my like heart race when
Yeah.
it transitions into slow motion
Yeah.
and he's going like flying down the hill to save his friend.
Yeah.
um that was great, and the like scales on the skin morphine, really well done.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about animation before. Some of the best animation I've ever seen was when they're all like downhill speeding, like all three different parties after each other.
Mm,
The villain, the girl, and then the two kids on the bike in the rain down the Italian streets. It just looked so slick, and the way the
yeah.
cinematography was moving with the car, like with the bikes and everything, it looked great.
Mm,
I loved that. Thought they did a good job.
yeah. Yeah. That whole like finale was so good, and yeah, yeah, total. I'm right there with you. Like my heart was racing. I didn't. I was surprised. I was like, I kept catching myself being surprised at like the emotions that I had in the movie because I was like,
Hmm.
I didn't realize this movie was working so well. Like,
Hmm.
and it just like every time it happened again, I'm just like, man, this is awesome. This is good, good, good.
Hmm.
Um, I guess so. If I'm getting to some nitpicky stuff, is
Go for it.
at the end of the race, and this is kind of in closer to Pixar and Disney fashion, where the stakes kind of just drop and like
Hmm.
everyone's just like fine and they're like, oh, a bunch of us are sea monsters, and like
Yeah.
i I really was hoping, like based on that, the at the top of the hill sequence, and like how much like, you know, you see all the townsfolk are like, you know, they're grabbing like spears and stuff getting ready to attack him and stuff. I thought we were going in like a Lion King finale, like Lion King, or like um
There'd
Beauty
be a
and the
war,
Beast. No, but like like I'm just thinking of
a
movie.
little more action, like
Well, I thought they
people.
were gonna push it just based on how they were
Yeah.
doing things. I thought they were gonna push it to like
No
that.
physical contact ever ended up happening
Yeah, yeah.
against anyone. So I say, like, people didn't, like you're saying, people don't need to die. It's a kids movie, but
No.
like you thought there'd be a little bit of like a more intense conflict.
Yeah, I kind of thought they'd get to the bottom of the hill and there would still need some convincing. Like, you know, the townspeople wouldn't immediately be like, well, they did win the race, so I guess we like sea
And
monsters now.
yeah, and
I thought, like,
which I thought what they did in the little ways they did it, they handled it the best they could.
yeah,
I too was noticing that like every character was just like fine with it very quickly.
yeah,
But the way they were fine with it, like you just quoted, when she was like, "Well, technically, he wins." Like I kind of liked that voice acting. Like she nailed, like it was kind of a joke that
yeah,
everyone was okay with them being sea monsters.
right.
And if you're going to just suddenly have everyone okay with it, like yeah, make it a little bit comedic. Like it was self-aware that it
Yeah,
was resolving the problem so quickly.
yeah,
In that line that one lady says, and so
right.
I thought like it was a little clever. It wasn't totally straightforward. They had a little creativity in it,
Yeah,
but I do still semi agree with you.
yeah. And I wasn't sure if like there was some like extended like stories within this like culture that like they didn't really get into, like because the grandma like talks about she's a sea monster and she's always goes to land and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
so I had just in my head I was thinking, well, maybe there's like they're trying to say something about like people judging other people or something like that, you know, and they just didn't quite get around to working that into the story to make it like a,
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
I
It
don't know,
didn't have like
but
that typical animated like speech ending, which maybe is for the
yeah,
best. But I get what you're saying.
yeah,
Like there
like maybe
isn't
they
like
have,
a there isn't an outward, there isn't a blunt statement of like friendship or getting past your differences.
yeah,
It is, which is probably good actually. I'm not
yeah,
complaining
like maybe
anymore.
they
I
just
just convinced
avoided
myself that
that.
I liked that it's not. You just like, they're, well, they talk a lot about their outcasts.
Right.
And they literally are outcasts, even
Mm-hmm.
though they are the girls from out of town too. And so like I think the movie is trying to say what you're saying right now. They
Like
just
by
don't
not
have a big
saying it.
speech. They just
Yeah,
don't have a speech
yeah,
about it.
yeah, that could be. I mean, overall it still worked. It was just I guess I had just thought it was going here, and then it just kind of like was like boop, and it still
Yeah.
worked. It like hit the ending great, and
Because that train scene, right? You liked the train?
yeah, I did. Yeah,
Okay.
and I even
The
sat there and
music
watched.
swelled.
I even watched the whole credit sequence like all the way
All
through
20 minutes of credits.
because the
Yeah, this movie is an hour and 40 minutes long. It definitely ended at an hour and 22
yeah,
minutes.
but
It's
the credits have like art on the sides, and
mhm.
it continues to tell the story of the kid going to school with the girl and
Oh.
everything.
Oh no. I
Oh
watched a little bit
no.
of the credits and then I stopped.
Oh
And I was
okay.
also I watched on my computer, so I
Yeah.
was listening to the music and looking at my other monitor, like flipping through
Okay.
websites.
It's worth watching. It's just kind of in like, you know, single frame images. Kind of,
Yeah.
it tells like what they did and like,
I'll flick it back on for 10 minutes. But
yeah,
because I was gonna ask you, like, for some reason this, even though it was a smaller project, it kind of like screamed like this could work as a sequel.
yeah,
Like it's just about friendship and Italy. Like this could easily just kind of continue on their adventures with the mom and them keeping that a secret and a secret in like elementary school together.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I like it's definitely they're definitely characters that they fleshed out enough that I wanted more. So like the
Hmm.
credit sequence is kind of like feels good because you're like it actually does tell like what happens at school, and it tells like what happens with the other kid like staying
Okay.
in that town, and
By the way, the other
yeah.
kid, I have so many
Oh
little
yeah, we
things to
haven't even
say.
talked about him at all, really.
The
But
him and the dad, I really liked their kind of bond they formed. Like the dad was excited to cook him his spaghetti every day
yeah,
and his like pesto pasta. He was sad when he wasn't. And there's this like touchy moment when he like grabs his lantern. He's like, I'm just gonna go find him.
yeah,
And like nothing ever comes of that. He's just like it just shows that he cares.
right,
Which I thought was really cool. It's not
yeah,
like we
just
follow him outside to go look for him or anything.
yeah, yeah. Like they're just these kids that he lets like sleep in his backyard, and he
Yeah,
like
he's just
feeds them and
becoming
stuff.
attached to.
But yeah, when they're missing, he's like somebody has to go
Yeah,
look
they
for him,
find
you know?
him a heaping supply of fish that gives him a lot of profit. But I'm
Yeah,
sure he
yeah,
also feels something for them too.
yeah,
Um, I just yeah, there's so many things in my head. I liked that the two of the three main characters, like it's not like a big love story. It's
no,
like so much of a friendship story. There's not some cheesy kiss, or it's not him being all like nervous and goofy because he loves her.
yeah,
He just thinks like she's just cool, and maybe at some point it'll transition to that, but they're still just kids,
yeah,
and it doesn't go through the like shy kid tropes that would normally
yes,
happen
mm-hmm.
in that kind of fish out of water scene.
Yeah, and it doesn't like pander to anything either. Like it's just it seems like it really uh tried to be just honest like this. I wanted to see if this was this writer director. I didn't see if he wrote
Um,
and directed it, but it kind of
he
feels like a more, I mean, obviously not personal
this
story,
this is
but
his directorial Pixar debut. Um, Enrico Casarosa.
yeah.
Apparently, he only did a Pixar short film before this,
Oh, okay.
and now and then they let him direct this film. Um, and he no, he did not write it. I'm looking now.
Oh, okay. Okay. But it just feels it feels so much more honest than a lot of these. I mean, now that you were bringing up like the love triangle thing, and all of a sudden like all these movies and TV shows popped into my head, and I was like, oh yeah, like that's so tired and exhausting now. Like I'm so glad they decided to just like build, yeah, just the friendship and like
Hmm.
in like many facets. Like they all need each other, like emotionally, physically, and like, you know, for the race they're all like have something to bring to that. They all are like missing that part of their lives that needed to be filled by a friendship at the time.
Yeah, like
And like,
they spend this like needless amount of time showing him how much wonder is in the universe. And like when they were just running across the rooftops just to get to a telescope just to show him what actual stars are,
yeah.
I was like, they like this movie slowed down to give us this really great moment of bonding between these two characters that most movies wouldn't.
Hmm.
Um, and I really appreciated stuff like that scene.
Yeah.
The the movie wasn't necessarily like a hilarious Pixar film. I think there's much funnier Pixar movies out there.
Hmm.
Um, but there was a couple things that worked for me. One was, and this was maybe the only moment where they went above and beyond like this, and it worked.
Hmm.
Was the deep sea uncle
Oh yeah.
that was going to take him away.
Yeah.
I'm thinking back of it now, like maybe it didn't necessarily even fit because it was like the only time they did a big gag like that just for jokes.
Right.
But I loved how they're just like picked the weirdest sea creature or like fish out there to be
Hmm.
the uncle and used like what that fish actually does in like the bottom pits of the
Right.
deep dark ocean and like use that as his like sentence to boot camp or whatever parents like send their kids off to go to boarding school.
Like
Um,
he just sits
I don't know.
there and whale carcass drifts into his mouth.
Into his mouth, into his open mouth, you see nothing for months except for just like you have your imagination and thoughts in the
Oh
deep
yeah.
darkness of the abyss. I don't know. That was just all like a really funny concept. I
Yeah.
like that a lot.
I
Uh,
actually.
but they have to punch his heart because his body isn't used to the higher oxygen of the upper surface of the water.
Yeah.
Like that's so specific.
Yeah.
Like,
It is.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess there wasn't a whole lot of comedy in it now that I think about it, but I do feel like it was a comedy. Like it was lighthearted enough, and there are some funny bits of the parents trying to figure out like which kid is there because they don't know what their kid looks like as a human,
Mhm.
and so they're like beating
Just
kids
child
up and
abuse.
like throwing them in the water and like.
Almost drowned this kid. And he just starts crying. You're
Oh yeah,
like,
don't they
oh,
like
and then just
straight
run away.
shove his head in
Yeah.
the water to
You just
see?
kick him off the dock and his
Uh,
ice cream falls in the water and he starts bawling his eyes out and they just run away. You're like, oh my God.
yeah.
Just like, yeah, the fact that there's no redeeming moment in that scene is what made it funny. I was just
Yeah.
like, whoa,
Yeah.
poor kid.
Um,
I'm curious about Phoenix's Corner.
Phoenix's
I want
Corner.
the I want the Phoenix review.
So he made it about a half hour in before he wanted to play with his toys.
Mm.
But I will say, every time he got up, so like we were on the couch watching it, it was like a half hour in, he's like, "I want to go play with my toys," and he stands up, and then he'd get caught by the movie again. He never did end
Just
up
like
playing with his toys. Yeah, we
starts
ended
getting
up watching the
distracted
whole
and like
movie.
goes back. Oh,
Yeah.
really? Okay.
Um,
Is the fact that he says I want to play with my toys is that unique to movies that are a little slower or something?
I think so. Yeah, because I'm
But it
trying to think.
didn't get slow enough to allow him to actually go to the toys.
Right.
Okay.
He didn't get to. It was kind of losing him, but then it would keep grabbing. Trying to
Okay.
think of what we watched a different animated movie recently. Thought it was another Pixar movie, but I don't think it was Soul. But I don't know. He's made it through animated movies in a full
Mhm.
sitting or one
Mitchell's
sitting.
vs. the Machines.
No, we haven't. We
Oh,
didn't watch that. Um,
I know we're getting
but
sidetracked.
anyways, yeah. But
But I am fast. Does he watch movies over and over again? Is he that kind of kid?
no,
Okay, so he's not like okay, never mind.
no, he's more into TV shows and stuff. But he definitely like I could tell like especially during the race and stuff, he gets into it and like it's like
Hmm.
puts his hands in his mouth when he gets intense and
Nice.
stuff like that.
And
So
you were doing that too.
yeah,
And you look over at him, he's doing the same thing. Yeah.
yeah. So
Hmm.
I think it's kid approved. I think he enjoyed
Oh,
most of it, and it's
Phoenix
definitely
approved.
It's definitely like the kid relationships in it are like younger kids too, which is kind of cool. It's not like a
Hmm.
teeny bopper movie type thing.
Yeah, it's like elementary school
Yeah,
aged kids.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
What else, Derek?
yeah.
Got anything else?
Man, I just really liked the movie just through and through. Um, I liked that I guess you kind of brought it up, like them going to see the telescope and stuff, but I kind of like I really like the relationship that was built between. I guess they never tell us the ages, but I assume that Luca and the girl, I can't think of her name right now, are younger than Alberto was, right? Like there's an age gap, is what I kind of
Oh,
assumed.
the kid, the friend they meet. Oh,
Yeah, like
I don't
the.
know. Maybe a year, two. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I
In
didn't get too much of that vibe.
okay. In my head, I figured he was like a couple of years older than them.
Maybe, yeah.
Um, and like he had his own like preconceptions of things that were built in based on his like upbringing and stuff. And I really liked like their focus on Luca being so interested in like learning as opposed to
Hmm.
just like
Mm,
being like a rebellious little kid. He was like
yeah.
he was more just like curious, like he just wanted to learn and like
It was a wholesome plot point
yeah,
to
it's really
see.
wholesome. And
There
it's,
was this very small moment at the end when they like run inside the Luca and the girl, and then his friend has the Vespa, and he like takes one last look at the Vespa, make sure it's like standing up correctly,
yeah,
and it just holds on him, and then he runs inside after them to go learn.
yeah, yeah,
And I don't know, it was weird they like paused that extra like 4 seconds on that shot to give it that much extra meaning.
hmm,
But it was, yeah, again, it was just like a wholesome moment that they were all running inside to like have fun learning about the world together.
yeah. I will say I think there's something to be said about these like kind of softer, lighter, like less weighty movies because I could see myself rewatching this pretty often, like and
Hmm.
enjoying it a lot. Like I, as much
Hmm.
as I love Soul, I don't know that I'll really rewatch it that much just because it's pretty heavy and like
Hmm.
a lot of Pixar movies are very heavy, like even Toy Story movies and um,
I want light but perfected Pixar.
yeah, yeah,
Like it's like what, give us more good dinosaurs and Lucas, but
mm,
really well done like Luca
yeah,
and call it good. You
yeah,
don't need these like you don't need these animated movies pushing the boundaries of animation and storytelling every single time,
yeah,
or action or adventure. Like it can be simple and charming and cute, and maybe a little lower budget,
mm-hmm,
but just like write and direct the hell out of it, like
yeah,
this one.
yeah. Well, I think like I wonder if like the pandemic might have kind of accidentally created the perfect like ecosystem for those kind of movies to develop because they're not going to have those billion-dollar blockbusters that they can throw out 4 or 5 times a year, necessarily.
And and
Pixar.
that's where this likely came. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
it's been in conception before then, but it's where maybe likely the budget or the scaled downness or they hacked to, cut a few corners and
Mm-hmm.
it turned into this more streamlined thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of speculating, but they could have been. I mean, it makes
I
sense.
mean, I hope like that's kind of something that's developing because
Hmm.
it felt really rewarding as an audience member getting to watch it. So it'd be cool
Yeah,
to see more of that. Uh,
agreed.
yeah.
Agreed.
I guess it's more along the lines of like a Leica movie, kind of like it's more of like a lighter. Well, actually, I guess their movies are pretty dark too. Never mind. Anyways,
The Okay, so are we all good? I think that's
yeah,
everything I have to say.
yeah. I don't
Okay.
think I have anything else to say. So overall, really good movie. What
Yeah.
star rating are you gonna give it?
I mean, it's a minimum 4 stars, and by the
Yeah.
time it got to the ending, like, when movies build up rather than like slow down at the end, it
Mm-hmm.
just leaves you with such a good impression. But like,
Yeah.
I could even give it a high 4. maybe not 4.5, but like almost a 4.5.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Yeah, me too. It's like, yeah, I guess, yeah. I gave it 4 stars too,
Hmm.
but like I feel like that's understating how much I liked it. Like I really
Hmm.
liked it, like a 5 star movie. It just doesn't feel like it's just it's not meant to be this like incredible masterpiece. It's just like this
Hmm.
slice of animation that's really well done. So
Yeah. And if it kicked off a little fast, not faster, but a little stronger, I
yeah,
would have been fully on board.
yeah,
So that is Luca. Go see it. It's on Disney Plus,
for free. It's
and
for free
for
this time.
free. And
Yeah,
yeah, you don't even have to pay $30. So that's a
yeah,
big bonus. It's Phoenix approved, kid approved. Go see it.
yeah.
So thanks for being with us here on this live broadcast of the Monthly Movie Dispatch. Up next Tuesday at 8 p.m., the same time, Derek and our other host, Nick, will be reviewing Fast and the Furious 9. Is that what it's called?
9.
No
It's
little
F.
like pun?
No, its official title is F9.
Oh,
Just the
everyone
letter
is a little
F
different.
and the 9 number.
Got it.
Yeah.
F9.
Oh wait, actually I think it
Um,
is F9 the Fast Saga. I think it actually is. I don't
Jesus.
know.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're seeing it opening night, Derek. That's cool.
Hmm.
I'll definitely check it out in theaters. The host will be Nick with Derek joining. And please like and subscribe and share with your friends. And thanks for tuning in, guys.
Bye.
See you later.
See ya.